Do you know about a girl who was kidnapped and sold into slavery, then went on to become a saint? Meet Saint Josephine Bakhita. Born in 1869 in Sudan's Darfur region, her life began in tragedy. Josephine was taken from her family in the most brutal way. She was kidnapped while working in the fields with her family and subsequently sold into slavery. Her captors asked for her name, but she was too terrified to remember, so they branded her with a new one, Bakhita, meaning fortunate in Arabic. But her life was anything but fortunate at first. She faced unimaginable horrors. She was tortured, beaten, and scarred, 114 cuts on her body. Her captors poured salt into her wounds to keep the scars as reminders. "I felt I was going to die," Josephine recalled. Yet amidst her suffering, she searched for hope. She looked at the stars and wondered, who created this beautiful world? In her darkest hours, she felt a divine calling. Freedom seemed impossible until one fateful day. Josephine was sold 5 times. Then she was bought by the Italian consul in Khartoum. His name was Callisto Legnani. Imagine, a life of torment suddenly altered by the prospect of freedom. Only 2 years later, he took Josephine to Italy. She began working as a nanny, but Josephine's heart yearned for something deeper. After being sent to a Canossian sisters' school in Venice, she discovered that she wanted to learn more about the church. She was baptized as Josephine Margaret, but there was one last battle to win. The Micheli family she worked for wanted to take her back to Sudan, but Josephine stood her ground and refused to go back to Sudan. Italy didn't recognize slavery, and she fought for her freedom in court and won. She entered the convent in 1893 and became a Canossian sister in 1896. From captive to caregiver, her mission was clear. She dedicated her life to serving others and teaching about God's love. With her gentle smile, she became an icon of hope. One particularly moving story from her later years showcases her deep spirituality. Once, someone asked her what she would do if she could meet the people who had kidnapped and tortured her. Without hesitation, she responded, "If I were to meet those slavers who kidnapped me, and even those who tortured me, I would kneel and kiss their hands. Because if these things had not happened, I would not have become a Christian and a religious woman." This statement reveals the incredible depth of her faith. Not only did she forgive, but she saw God's providence in her suffering. In the wake of Josephine's experiences, we can draw inspiration for our own lives. When faced with trials, we can choose to respond with love and compassion rather than anger and bitterness. Josephine's ability to forgive her captors showcases the profound strength that lies within forgiveness. It is an act of courage that not only liberates the victim, but also paves the way for healing. She teaches us that suffering is not the end, but can be a pathway to something greater. Even in her most painful moments, she chose faith over fear. She transformed her suffering into an offering to God, finding joy and peace in her relationship with Him. Even as she aged, Josephine remained a source of light for others. During the final years of her life, she suffered from a painful illness, yet she never complained. When asked how she was feeling, she would simply say, "As the Master desires." Her submission to God's will was absolute, and it radiated peace to all who met her. Her presence was so impactful that people would visit her just to be in her company. She carried the wounds of her past, not as a burden, but as a testimony to the transformative power of grace. She was often heard saying, "Be good, love the Lord, pray for those who do not know Him." What a great grace it is to know God. Her wisdom was simple yet profound, touching the hearts of many who crossed her path. Saint Bakhita is the patron saint of human trafficking survivors, offering a symbol of hope to those still suffering in modern-day slavery. Her example teaches us that true freedom is not merely the absence of physical chains, but the presence of inner peace and love. Even in the face of unimaginable cruelty, she chose faith, hope, and love. Her story urges us to ask ourselves, how do we respond to our own sufferings? Do we allow them to make us bitter, or do we transform them into something beautiful? In honoring Saint Josephine Bakhita, we are reminded that no suffering is wasted when it is offered to God. She turned her pain into a pathway to holiness, proving that even the most broken lives can be redeemed. Her journey from slavery to sainthood is a testament to the power of faith and forgiveness. So today, as we reflect on her life, let us be inspired to follow her example. Let us seek to forgive, to serve, and to trust in God's plan. Let us remember that no matter what trials we face, we are never truly alone. Saint Josephine Bakhita, pray for us.